Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, Colts fans, Colts Nation. Welcome back to the Voice of the Colts podcast. I'm your host, Reef, and I'm your self-anointed voice of Colts Nation. And I just want to thank every single one of you guys who is tuned in week after week, who checks the clips on TikTok, on Instagram, and on YouTube Shorts and leaves the comments. 42 subscribers on YouTube. I appreciate each and every one of you. Tony, I see you, man. You comment on every short. I really do appreciate you. All the people on TikTok leaving comments on everything, man. I love that you guys support the channel. I know it's a little weird on TikTok. I don't really have a link, but if you search Voice of the Colts podcast on YouTube, you'll find me right away. I'm right there. And I really appreciate all the comments you guys leave, even though you guys always call me a clown because of specific quarterback opinion that I have, which we're going to get right into right away. I mean, this is the perfect way to start the show. But before we get into Old Man Phil, pause. My bad. I know someone made a comment at me saying that before, and I just need to make sure, I don't get that comment again, whatever. Before we get into talking about the quarterback position for the Indianapolis Colts, let's recap. Right? Because the Colts got absolutely demolished on Monday by the 49ers. Let me see, final score was 48-27. The Colts now sit at 8-6 on the season, or 8-7 on the season, meaning our best record that we could possibly hold is 10-7. Playoff hopes are not out of the realm of possibility. We will get into playoff scenarios near the end of this episode. But Colts fans, just keep an open mind. We have a chance. We still got a chance. Okay? Yeah, so we lose to the 49ers, 49-27. Very ugly game. We move to 8-7, while the Texans are sitting at, I want to say they're 10-6, right? 10-6. And yes, 10-6? 10-7. They're 10-7. I'm thinking what? Wait, no, they're not. They're 10-6. Wait, am I stupid? Guys, I'm sorry. I'm totally unprepared. They're 10-5. They're 10-5. That is. I'm adding the numbers in my head. I'm like, how are we 8-7 and they're 10-6? Like, that doesn't make any sense. 10-5. My apologies. 10-5. The Jaguars, they have all but locked up the division, so they still have to await the results of essentially the Texans-Chargers game to see, because if the Texans lose that game, the Jaguars effectively have won the division, especially if they end up winning. So Jaguars control their own destiny. They win their game, they are in it. They won the seed. They actually have a fringe chance at winning the number 1 seed, believe it or not, which pains me to say that. But since I've delayed long enough, man, we got to talk a little bit. So I got on the airwaves and I put myself in a position to be an absolute clown by calling out Carly Ursay-Gordon, Chris Ballard, and Shane Steichen. I told them to wear clown costumes for bringing in Phillip Rivers, who I said clearly can't play football at the NFL level. I said clearly he cannot do it. I didn't get the clown outfit for one reason. I only believe I'm like 65% wrong, maybe 70% wrong about that. I am wrong. Guys, I'm not dodging accountability. I was wrong. I mean, in fairness, the Seattle game was freaking ugly. Like, that was just disgustingly bad. They put a graphic on in the Monday Night Football game. His average yards per completion or something like that, or his average depth of completion was 1.7 yards. That is abysmal. That is disgusting. That is grotesque. That is any word. Pick up a thesaurus and find all the words that match nasty, disgusting, garbage, whatever you want to describe it as. The length of your vocabulary is, that's your little sandbox. Have fun. Say whatever word you want. There's not a single positive word to say about I think it was 1.7 yards depth of completion. That's garbage, dude. That's awful. It was very different against the 49ers. Phillip Rivers ended up 23 of 35 with 277 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick 6 that effectively ended the game. You know, it wasn't all good, couple ugly ducks. We did see some of those. But for the most part, field general looked like great command of the offense, of the game. And he played a pretty good football game. I mean, we scored on 5 of our first 6 drives. What more you want to ask from a 44-year-old 4.5 years removed? So I was wrong. I'm an idiot. I'm a clown. I'm a loser. All right? What is it? Hold on. Let me see if I got this right. Let me see, right?
It's my quarterback.
That's my quarterback. That's how y'all sounded to me. That's my quarterback. But y'all were right-ish. Right-ish. Clearly, he's good enough to play. Is he good enough to win in the NFL? I think if the defense did half a damn thing against the Niners, maybe. And regardless, it's a moot point because he's starting again next week. Already announced by Shane Steichen. The major reason, and this is Shane Steichen's words, not mine. The major reason why he's guaranteed to start next week, because there is a chance that we are effectively eliminated from the playoffs before Sunday. Right? On Saturday, the Chargers and Texans will play. And if the Texans win that game, the Colts are eliminated from the playoffs. So there's a chance that Sunday is going to mean nothing as far as playoff implications. But leading into that, Phillip Rivers is taking all the first-team reps. Shane Steichen says it wouldn't be fair to Riley Leonard to start Riley in the event that, we're eliminated from the playoffs, considering he's not going to get any of the first-team reps, and it's going to make him look really bad if he doesn't do well, so on and so forth, which I understand. I can see that. Am I happy Phillip Rivers is starting again next week? I've been torn. Because I've thought about this, obviously, every day since we signed him. Part of me wants to believe this fairy tale. But this ain't no fairy tale, dog. I don't see that we have good chances. We're playing the Jaguars, who have been playing better football than us for the better part of 2 months now. So it's hard for me to imagine a world where we beat them, regardless of who's at quarterback. And just to remind you guys, I never once stated the Colts would have a better chance at winning football games with Riley Leonard in. My whole point, and I have to reiterate this because some people seem to not get this, was that we don't know what we have with Riley. And I just want to see something. Maybe, just maybe. You guys believe in the fairy tale that Phillip Rivers, 4.5 years removed from the NFL, 44 years old, could bring us to the playoffs. That is a miracle, right? Maybe the miracle is actually Riley Leonard's a good quarterback and could be our starter next year. I don't know. I don't know. I'm saying, you know what I mean? Can I have a dream? Am I allowed to, or only you guys allowed to have dreams? All right, so enough of the dramatic stuff. That was the whole point. I take the L from saying he can't play at the NFL level anymore because he showed that he kind of can. I say I'm 65% wrong because there's some very, very clear and obvious limitations to his game. I mean, you look at the second touchdown to Alec Pierce. It was a touchdown. That was a duck. And I can promise you, I don't know this because I don't have sources in the NFL, but I could probably, I bet money, and I'm not even a gambling man, but I'd bet money that Robert Saleh is reviewing the film with his DBs, and he was like, this can never be a completion ever again. This better be an interception 10 times out of 10. That thing was a duck. It was fluttering. That was an ugly throw. And I remember the comments were like, it was a great throw and great catch. It was a great catch. The throw was, it made it. It made it. I think, that's the throw. That was how the football looked. Fluttering around in the air, looking crazy, but somehow landed in Alec Pierce's hands. And we all know Alec Pierce is a man. We love him to death. So I'm taking the L, but I'm not putting on the clown costume because I feel like maybe some things were a little misconstrued. I was talking more emotionally after the game of Seattle, which I stand by everything I said about that football game. He was flat out awful. And you guys could sit there and scream in the comments and scream to the void and yell, it was such short rest and he's 44 and 4.5 years removed. What do you expect? I don't care what the excuse is. I didn't say that. I'm not expecting greatness. I'm reviewing what happened. If what happened was he played terribly, and the reason why is a logical reason, he hasn't played for 4.5 years, I think we're both right in this scenario, no? You guys think he played well considering I don't change my scale on how I judge quarterbacks based on circumstances. There's a job that needs to get done. How well did he do that job? He didn't. That was Seattle. This week, he did pretty good. He did pretty damn good. I mean, the pick six was rough. He gave a lot of credit to D. Winters, I think it was. They got the pick six. He had made a check earlier in the game on one side of the field, had made that check earlier, and it worked. D. Winters recognized it and got the pick, which I find is kind of funny because everyone is gassing Phillip Rivers for his command of the offense, and it kind of led to an interception. Not saying that he hasn't had good command, because the very first thing I said was field general, right? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying. You know, it's funny. We can laugh. We can laugh. I bring this up. The laughing part. I bring up the laughing aspect of this because this game was comical. This was hands down, the absolute worst defensive performance of the season by the Colts by a million miles. The 49ers scored on, I think I saw it was like 70% of their drives if we exclude the kneel down at the end of the game, I believe. So it was like 7 out of their 10 drives, maybe. It was something around there. Maybe I included them. It might have been 7 out of 9 if we excluded the kneel down. They threw the interception, and I think they punted once. Did they punt? Did they even punt? Hold on. We're going to find this out right now. I got to double check to see if they even punted because I don't recall if they punted at all. I think they did. Oh, no, it wasn't. They missed a field goal. That was the only time they did not score. Oh, my God. So they threw the interception, right? Cam Bynum gets the little throw that gets overthrown slightly or something and tipped into his hands. He gets the interception. Outside of that one takeaway, which led to a pick six right after, right? Am I wrong about that? They threw the interception. We throw the interception for a touchdown. Yep, that is correct. So our one takeaway became a turnover later down the line that ended on a pick six, right? That was the only drive that they didn't score on outside of a missed field goal to end the half. This defense was awful. The Niners they took every opportunity and they ran with it. They absolutely demolished the Indianapolis Colts. They demolished us. I said the Indianapolis Colts like I'm not part of the team. I am part of the team, guys. This sucked on so many levels. And then Zaire Franklin, I bring up Zaire Franklin because there was a locker room interview after the game in which he said, and I don't have the clip, I'm sorry, usually I'm more prepared for this. I don't know why I couldn't find the clip earlier. And Colts don't post all their interviews on their YouTube page for whatever reason. I don't know. But there was a clip of this interview that has spiraled out of control on all the Colts interwebs, you know, the Reddit pages, Twitter pages and whatnot. They just spun out of control. In which Zaire said, we failed on all 3 levels. And it was a very tone-deaf comment to make. I agree with him, but I also understand why it was such a stupid thing to say in that moment. Because there is no side of the football that failed worse than the defense. The special teams wasn't good at all. They did not do a good job at all. We fumbled on a special teams return, which effectively gave the Niners the lead and everything. I mean, it didn't go downhill really from there, but we couldn't get a stop ever again. So the Niners just always had a lead for the rest of that game from that moment. Offense did a good job, but at the end of the day, if you don't score more than the other team, you can't sit there and say that the offense did amazing. Like you just can't say that because their job is to outscore the other team, and they didn't do that. Am I saying they did a bad job? No, I'm not. I don't think they did a bad job, but they failed. They failed the mission. And that's really all he was saying was we failed on all 3 levels, meaning the Niners did better than us on all 3 levels. They played better defense, they had better offense, they had better special teams. That is true. But it's so damn tone-deaf. And this is the second time Zaire has had some tone-deaf comment post-games, or first one was pre-game, but tone-deaf comments that just doesn't sit well with the fans. The first time being when they asked him about the curse in Jacksonville, and he says nothing matters. It doesn't matter. We lost. Like if we don't win, it doesn't. Like, or he said they asked him about this was before the Jaguars game, and I went over this in the podcast so you could hear my comments on this. in the podcast. I absolutely hated what he said when they asked him about how we haven't won in over a decade. He said he doesn't care. Pretty much that was the gist of it. I don't care. I'm going to go in and I'm going to play football. But I'm like, it's a little tone deaf because all of us care. Like, that's a division rival that we haven't been able to beat in their own home in over 10 years. That's a big deal. Don't pretend it's not. But I understood. I also agreed with what he said. I just thought it was tone deaf because I agree. You got to face every opportunity as a fresh opportunity. You're not worried about the past. You're worried about the present. So I understood what he said. It's just tone deaf. This falls in that same category. I get what you're saying, Ziggy. I do. I understand what you're saying. But it's so tone deaf because that was hands down the worst performance of the season by the defense. It was flat out awful. It can never happen again. And he goes on to talk about how, he's excited to go and make up for it the next game, which is the mentality I love. He also, I think that today he had an interview in the locker room, which he said one thing that I love. They asked him if he's going to watch the Texans-Chargers game. And he said, well, I watch the Texans because obviously they're a division rival. I got to see them, but I really watch for EJ Speed. And it put a smile on my face, man. Let me tell you something. This is one of the things I loved about Ziggy. Ziggy and EJ Speed were the special teams linebackers 2019 on. I think Ziggy joined 2018, 2019, and they played. EJ Speed was drafted like the year after. They're both late round draft pick guys. I think EJ was a 5th round. I think Zaire was a 7th round. And these are guys that battled on special teams together, and I was extremely proud of those guys on special teams. I would tout how good our special teams is to everyone that cared, which is very minimal people, because very minimal people care about the Colts in general. Even more minimally do they care about special teams, right? So I'm one of the dorks that absolutely loves special teams. It always gets me excited for big special teams plays. But yeah, so that was kind of my thing. I love those guys going up. And this is why I feel like maybe I'm a little softer on my criticisms of Ziggy. Because he's been there and he's grinded his way up. He grinded his way up from the special teams unit to being a green dot defensive captain, the voice of our defense, an absolute leader in the locker room. And I think overall terrific player. He's definitely having a bad season right now, and it's hard to defend it. You watched last week, it's just so hard to defend, and I'm going to still try to defend it to some extent, but it's difficult to defend. He got to play better. The results have to come in, and so that's the comment was just so incredibly tone deaf, and I think that's where most people are going to have a problem with him because they see the production that he's had on the field. They haven't been happy with it already. Some people have been very vocal about that. And then on top of that, you're going to bring up a tone-deaf comment like that, which, again, I don't think he didn't make any false statements in that comment. The Niners outplayed us on every level. They outplayed us offensively. They outplayed us defensively. They outplayed us on special teams. It's as simple as that. We lost the game on all 3 phases. Even if you think the Colts did good offensively, we still lost on that phase. It is what it is. You did not outscore the other offense. You did a good job. You did a lot. And if the defense helped you out in any way, maybe it is a little different. This is why it's a team sport. The offense needs the defense to stop the other team from scoring points to make their job a little bit easier. But at the end of the day, your job is your job. The offensive job is to score more points than the other team. That's it. Now, if the defense makes that job very difficult, does that mean it's no longer your job? No, it's still your job, and you failed to do your job, unfortunately, right? I know people don't want to blame them, and I said defense is the biggest thing to blame, and I'm the guy that blames the quarterback always. These are the specific circumstances that rarely come up, by the way. These are one-off situations in which I'm going to sit here and say, it's not the quarterback's fault. Not this week, not Monday. For the first time all season long, I am not going to blame the quarterback. The defense was historically bad. I don't remember the last time I saw a defense that bad. At least a Colts defense that bad. So this was just downright awful, and it takes an extreme circumstance like this for me to say it's not the quarterback's fault. So Philip, I don't blame you for the loss, and that's why I take my L. Because it's clearly the defense's fault here. However, Ziggy was right. It's just a very tone-deaf comment. I have to bring that up because everyone's talking about it. But that's the reality of it. Like, it's just tone deaf. It's not wrong. He's not flat out wrong about it. And I know some people are going to disagree with me. They're going to get in here like, oh, no, the defense didn't do anything. And Phillip Rivers did so freaking good for a 44-year-old. Doesn't matter. He didn't outscore the other team. It doesn't matter. He's not wrong because the offense did not outscore the other team. I know it sounds like we're being very harsh, but that's the reality of the situation. You have a job. It wasn't done. Sorry. And you guys want to blame the defense, go ahead and blame the defense. You could do that. But to sit there and say the offense did everything they can, that's not true. We lost. We didn't score more than the other team. They have a job to do, and they didn't get it done. And I love that. I heard Phillip Rivers kind of mention this as well. He's like, even if they don't, I don't want to quote him because I actually don't remember the quote exactly, but he mentioned something along those lines around how it's a whole team thing and we have to still do more. We left points on the table, which is true, and you just can't do that in the NFL, and it's tough. Like I said, I think he played fairly well for what it's worth, but again, Zaire's comments aren't wrong. It's just absolutely tone deaf. That's where my problem is with that. And the offense played well to an extent, except for Jonathan Taylor. And I don't want to just put all the blame on JT. He had absolutely no running room. The blocking was awful. We had backups in on our offensive line, so it's rough. There's a lot of shuffling on the offensive line. And so I think JT ran for like less than 2 yards per carry, which is unbelievable. Oh, sorry. He ran for 2.9 yards per carry. 16 carries, 46 yards, and a touchdown. His longest carry of the day was 7 yards. That's not Jonathan Taylor. That's not JT standard. So that was an awful game in the run for us. So again, there are spots on the offense that you can look at and be like, well, yeah, see, they didn't actually have a great game. There was clearly places where we could have improved offensively. And it probably would have led to more points. Maybe even time off the clock. Maybe even giving us a chance to score and win the game. So you could say what you want and make it absolute. It's the defense's fault. But there's more nuance to this. And that's all Ziggy was saying when he said what he said. So I'm going to defend him on that. However, I'm also going to attack him and say, dude, don't be so damn tone deaf. Just take accountability and improve. Like, that's what you got. That's what you can do. You can't be that tone deaf to say we lost on all three phases when your defense was clearly the worst thing about our football game that day. So while I think that he was right, while I didn't think he said anything that was false, factually he was correct, it's just extremely tone deaf. And that's the biggest problem with all of that, right? And this is going to be a pretty short episode because I'm going to, at the end of this episode, I'm going to set up a very fun episode for us down the road, but that's going to be whether or not the Colts make the playoffs. As I mentioned earlier, the Colts are no longer in control of their own destiny, of our own destiny, I should say. I keep forgetting that I'm a part of the team. Now that I make official content, I have the man cave, I have the Colts jacket that just sits there awkwardly because it's a big Colts logo. But we no longer have control over our own destiny. So if some of you are wondering, well, Reef, what do we have to do to make the playoffs? I'm here to tell you. So we first and foremost, on Saturday, we absolutely need the Chargers to beat the Texans. I know we're used to rooting for anyone that's against our division rivals. Same thing here, right? Chargers beating the Texans. Uncle Phil's going to be rooting for them. They talked to Uncle Phil about that, and he said it's not going to be hard to root for the Chargers, let me tell you. And he's not wrong, baby. It ain't going to be hard to root for the Chargers. And one thing I can tell you is this is a two-part thing, right? The only feasible way the Colts have to going into the playoffs is by tying the Texans record-wise and winning the strength of victory tiebreaker. So this thing does two things for us. We beat the Chargers. Chargers winning football games helps us every single time. Because if we tie with the Texans, that's going to help us in the strength of victory thing. I've listed out a few games. So we need to obviously beat the Jaguars. We have to win out. We have to beat the Jaguars. We have to beat the Texans. That's how we can tie the Texans. If the Texans lose to the Chargers and they lose to us the week after. So we have to beat the Texans. We have to beat the Jaguars. Texans have to lose out, essentially. And we will both be sitting at 10-7. All right? Along with that, we are going to need some games going our ways, which we know has not happened at all. It's crazy, actually, the amount of luck that we have not had, or bad luck that we have had, this year is unbelievable. We had 16 games after the bye week before the start of this week. Before the start of the week, what week was it? Week 16 or something like that? Yeah, week 16. Before the start of week 16 games, we had 16 games since our bye week that could have helped us on our playoff chances, and every single one of those games went the wrong way for us. So our luck clearly isn't very great. I don't know what to tell you guys. I don't know what to say. We're cooked. We're cooked. But in the event our luck changes, here are the games that you're going to want to watch. I've listed out the games for this week that we're going to want to watch. We need the Bears to beat the Niners. We don't need all of these to happen, by the way. These are just all the games that would positively impact the Colts' chances if we win out, the Texans lose out. Okay? This is it. These are the games, at least for this week. And I'll look into the games next week if we survive this week, right? So, the Bears beating the Niners helps us. The Denver Broncos beating the Chiefs really helps us because the Texans beat the Chiefs and the Chiefs keep dropping and they keep losing games. That's going to hurt the Texans. And we beat Denver. Denver keep winning games. That helps us. So that really helps us. Packers beating the Ravens would be nice. Eagles beating Buffalo would be awesome. Giants beating the Raiders, awesome. Dolphins somehow finding a way to beat the Bucs is another game that is doubly good for us because we beat the Dolphins and then the Texans beat the Bucs. And so that's a game that goes both ways for us, right? Because the Bucs end up getting another loss on their record, the Dolphins get another win on their record, and we look very good with that. So Dolphins beating the Bucs and Denver beating the Chiefs are massive games for us. And Falcons beating the Rams. So those are your games that would essentially push us towards a reality where we can make the playoffs. The season's not over yet. I know it feels that way, and it probably really is, and I'm just being optimistic. Of those games, Bears beating the Niners, I like our chances. Denver beating the Chiefs, I love our chances. Packers beating the Ravens, not so sure. Eagles beating Buffalo, I like our chances. Giants beating the Raiders, flip a coin, 50-50. I don't mind those chances. Dolphins beating the Bucs, I hate our chances. And Falcons beating the Rams, I hate our chances. So, all in all, I don't like our chances. All that to say, I don't really like our chances. But there's a world where things might work out and we find our way into the playoffs. Who knows? I really hope we're going to do this and we don't have to go full off-season mode. However, if we do find ourselves in full off-season mode, on the next episode of this podcast, most likely the next episode, because it'll probably be the Monday following the Jacksonville Jaguars game, if the Colts are eliminated from the playoffs, I have already spoken to a few people, and I'm going to open this up to the public for you guys to do as well. We are going to create an off-season plan, a hypothetical scenario with off-season moves that we would like to see. We want this to be detailed. So, for those of you following at home, here are my parameters for your hypothetical offseason plan. We are going to use over-the-cap projected salary cap figures for 2026, which I think they have us at about $47 million, around $47 million of cap space, right? We have to be realistic. So no, we are not signing Alec Pierce to 4 years at $4 million a year. Obviously, that's not going to work, right? He's projected to be a $20 million a year guy. So if you want Alec Pierce, you better make the space for him. You better make the room for him, right? So we want to keep it realistic, use projected figures, and keep it simple. We're not doing all this. I don't know. If you know contract language good enough and feel comfortable doing this where you feel like you can, we're going to backload this and front load this and throw it all on a signing bonus and it doesn't hit your cap or whatever those rules are, feel free to do it if you actually know what you're talking about. But if you don't, be like me. Accept that you don't know what you're talking about and just do a basic hypothetical where you say, okay, we have $47 million of cap space. We're going to give maybe $30 million to Daniel Jones and we're going to do whatever you're going to do, right? You're not trading like Michael Pittman Jr. for 3 first-round picks, right? That's not realistic. But if you present a trade with a trading partner who can take his salary, right? You want to look into their team's salary caps to see if they can even eat the amount that Michael Pittman has. Then, present the trade and, we'll discuss. All that to say, I want your off-season plans. You can put it in the comments, or you can join the Discord link in the description of the video. If you're seeing this clip on TikTok or on YouTube and you're not on the full video, or on Instagram, you can DM me for a link to the Discord. I usually have my YouTube link on the profiles of those pages, so just DM me and I'll get you the link to the Discord and you can join the Discord and maybe you could be on the show and you could present your ideas. I already have about 3 people who are committing that to building their offseason plan, and we're going to bring that. Like I said, it might be the Monday following the game. I'll have to work schedules out with them to see who's available, and we'll be pretty much doing this for the rest of the season, offseason plans. So we're going to generate our offseason plans, and we're going to talk about all the things that we'd like to do. So if you'd like to cut Zaire Franklin, tell me what you want to do to make it better, right? I'd love to hear your ideas. And if you don't want to re-sign Daniel Jones, well, let me know who the hell you have throwing the football, because I don't know who we're going to have throwing the football. So, to recap, offseason plans, put it in the comments or join the Discord and you too can be on the show. And if you put it in the comments on TikTok, don't worry. I will probably shout out some of my favorite ideas from the TikTok video. So don't be afraid to put it in the comments, guys. As always, thank you so much for watching and supporting. Just like I said in the beginning of the video, man, I love every single one of you guys that have supported this. It's always been a dream of mine to create sports content, and I'm going to work on creating even more sports content for you guys, and I'm going to work on being even better in the future. I know sometimes I talk real fast, sometimes I fly through topics, sometimes I don't get super in-depth. Bear with me, I'm new. I have not done this. I feel confident in my abilities to do it, but I still need to work some things out and get a lot funnier and better and more entertaining and do all the good stuff that you guys love to see. And one major thing I want to say, guys, let's refrain from calling each other stupid and crazy and idiots when we're talking about hypotheticals and opinions on players. It doesn't gotta be an attack. Just because I didn't like Phillip Rivers starting doesn't mean I hate that you like him. Like, I can understand why some of you guys like him. And I have my opinion, you have yours, and I'm gonna always try to be as respectful. And I'll slip up, I'm a human being. I'll slip up and I might say something stupid sometimes. Call me out on it. I take accountability. I started the beginning of the show calling myself a loser because it was a silly take that I had that Phillip Rivers, a future Hall of Famer, can't play football at an NFL level. That's a crazy thing to say, right? And it was more emotional based off what I saw in his first game with Seattle. And again, I stand by what I said about the game, specifically about the game in Seattle. But it's a crazy thing to say, and I'm going to own up to it every single time. Let's just have fun with this, guys. It's a good time, man. I don't want to create division here. The point of this podcast, I'm your self-anointed voice. I want to hear your voices so I can represent y'all a little bit better. You know, that's why I bring people onto this channel. That's why I invited as many people as I've invited, even though we never, some of them, there's someone in the Discord right now that I rarely have ever agreed with. I don't think I've agreed with him on a single thing yet. And it's still respectful. He still has an open invite to join the podcast, but scheduling difficulties and whatnot hasn't allowed for it. But there's still an open invite for him to get on, and I'm extremely excited to have him on because I can't wait to actually speak to him on a platform like this and have this conversation recorded between us because I feel like it's going to be a lot of fun. There's going to be people that are going to feel very represented by his opinions that a lot of people don't feel represented by my opinions. So I give the space to Colts fans, and I want you guys to join. So if you're interested, join the Discord link in the description. And also, if you're commenting on TikTok, just take the couple minutes out of your day to go and search me up on YouTube and subscribe and watch the full-length video on YouTube, because believe it or not, you're going to find out that I actually echo a lot of things that you guys say in the comments that just doesn't get clipped. And I echo those things on the full-length video. So maybe you'll enjoy those just a little bit more. I know it's a long video, sometimes hour long, whatever, but do it on the drive, listen to it in parts, whatever you got to do. But as long as you guys are supporting, man, whether it's just on TikTok or just on Instagram or YouTube, whatever it is, wherever it is, however you support, I appreciate every single one of you guys every single time. I love you guys. Thank you so much for allowing me to keep having this platform and not making podcast equipment more expensive. I don't remember your username, Mr. TikTok user, but you commented that one time, and I'll never forget it, because this stuff is already expensive, asshole. That's like one of the few times you'll ever hear me curse on the podcast. But yeah, anyway, again, love you guys, man. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys next week on the show, man. You guys have a great rest of your day, and happy holidays! Peace!